Have you ever wondered why some people recite Quran so beautifully and correctly? It is not only because of their beautiful voice, it's because they understand and apply all the rules of Tajweed. And one of the most important Tajweed rule is Noon Saakin and Tanween, which we will learn in today's lesson. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to our Tajweed learning series where we learn the rules of Quranic recitation in a simple and practical way. This is lecture 4 and today we will learn a very important topic which will be about Noon Saakin and Tanween. In this lesson we will understand three important things. The first one is what Noon Saakin and Tanween are, the four rules that apply to them, and we will practice real examples from the Quran. So let's begin with the basis. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما رب زدني علما رب زدني علما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Today is our fourth lecture of Tajweed, Noon Saakin and Tanween. Before starting the lecture, we will learn the basics of Noon Saakin and Tanween. First we need to understand that what Noon Saakin is. The definition of Noon Saakin. Noon Saakin means a noon letter that has Sakoon on it, which means it has no vowel sound. As present here, the letter Noon, and you can see that this letter Noon has Sakoon on it. So the Noon is pronounced without any vowel. The second part is Tanween. Tanween are the double vowel signs that appear at the end of the word, and that vowel signs are double fatha, double kasra and double duma. These signs create a noon sound at the end of the word. Even though the letter noon is non-written, the sound of the noon is produced. Even though the letter noon is not written, the sound of noon is produced. How? I will give you a little example of the word alimun. When Meem followed the double duma, like Meem double duma mun, at the end of the Meem, when we pronounce it with duma, the noon sound is appear. Alimun. Okay? Now, here is the main rule. Whenever Noon Saakin or Tanween appears in a word, we must look at the next letter. Depending on the next letter, one of the four Tajweed rules will apply. The first one is Izhaar, which means clear sound. The second one is Idghaam, which means merging. The third one is Ikhfaa, which means hide with nose, the sound which hide in the nose. And the fourth is Iqlaab, which means change noon into Meem. Now let's understand each rule one by one. The first rule is Izhaar. Izhaar means clear pronunciation, and in this rule the noon sound is pronounced clearly without any nasal sound. And Izhaar happens when Noon Saakin or Tanween comes before these 6 letters which are known as throat letters. Okay, I repeat that Izhaar happens when Noon Saakin or Tanween comes before these 6 letters Hamza Ha, Ain Ha and Ghain Kha. With the given examples we will understand it. The first example is min hawlihim, min hawlihim. Here you can see that there is a Noon Saakin, and in the next there is a throat letter Ha. When this letter Ha, which is the part of throat letter, comes here, we can pronounce this like min hawlihim, min hawlihim. Here the Noon sound is very clear. Okay, move to the second example, which is an'amta, an'amta. Here you can see that Ain, the letter Ain is the part of throat letters. So because of this, we can pronounce this word an'amta. Here we have to pronounce the Noon sound very clearly without taking it from nose, because I already told you that when Noon Saakin or Tanween comes before throat letters, Izhaar happens. Okay, now move to the third example, which is min ghairi. Here the letter ghain, this letter ghain is the part of throat letter. So because of this, we have to pronounce this word like min hawlihim, clear voice of Noon, min ghairi. Okay, now move to the fourth example, which is alimun hakim. Here the letter Ha is the part of throat letters, and here is the Tanween. Okay, so it is pronounced like alimun. Clear Noon sound is producing here at this part, alimun hakim. I am sure that you understand all these 4 examples and the first part, which is about Izhaar. Now move to the second part, the second rule, which is about Idghaam. Idghaam means to merge one letter into the next letter. Very simply, you have to know that Idghaam means to merge one letter into the next letter. This happens when Noon Saakin or Tanween comes before these given letters, which are known as letters Yarmaloon. But these letters are known as Yarmaloon. So you can learn these 6 letters like Yarmaloon. When you remember this word, which is Yarmaloon, you can easily learn these 6 letters with the help of only this one word. Okay, so with the given examples we will know that what is Idghaam. The first example is may yaqulu, may yaqulu. Here in this word, the Noon merge with Ya, the Noon merge with Ya, and what type of sound is pronounced? May yaqulu, may yaqulu. You can feel the sound is going into your nose. The second example is Meem. Here the Noon is merging with the Meem, and how we can pronounce this? Meem, Meem. The third example is Lahabim. lahabim. Here in the third example, the tanween is merging with the letter waw and giving the sound lahabim. Here double kasra is present below the ba, and this tanween making the connection with the letter waw. So how can we pronounce this letter? Lahabim watab. Okay, now move to the fourth example, which is Ghafurur Rahim. Very clearly you can see that here the tanween, which is double duma, merging with the next letter, which is ra, and giving the sound Ghafurur Rahim. Ghafurur Rahim. So in Idghaam, the noon does not remain separate. Okay, in the Idghaam, the noon does not remain separate. But in our first part, which is about Izhaar, here the noon is clearly mentioned and we have to pronounce it with their original sound, so the noon will be clear. But in the second part, which is Idghaam, here the noon is not remain separate. In this we merge one letter into the other. Now move to the third part, the third rule, which is Ikhfaa. Ikhfaa means to hide. In this rule, the noon sound is completely clear and not merged. Okay? Instead, it is pronounced with the light nasal sound through the nose. This is also known as gunna. In our previous lecture, we learned about gunna, and I am sure that you learned the previous lecture, so it will be very easy for you to learn this rule, which is known as Ikhfaa. So let's move and practice with the given examples. The first example is antum, antum. You can feel that the noon sound, when the hamza make the connection with the noon, it will give the sound which goes into our nose. You can feel it like antum, antum. Okay. The second example is min qablu, min qablu. You can feel when the meem make a connection with the noon, the sound goes in your nose. Min qablu, min qablu. The fourth example is kuntum, kuntum. You have to feel when you put your finger on your nose and pronounce this letter like kuntum. During the pronunciation of this word, you can feel the sound is going into your nose. Kuntum. The fourth example is sabrun. Here the ra is followed by the tanween, which is double duma. Okay, so you can pronounce it like sabrun, sabrun. When we pronounce the tanween, the noon sound will pronounced and it will go in our nose. But when it will happen and on which letters we have to perform Ikhfaa other than these letters which we learned here in the first part, which is about Izhaar, and here we learn the 6 letters which are known as throat letters, and in the second rule, which is known as Idghaam, here we learn the letters Yarmaloon, which are also 6. So 6 letters of throat and 6 letters of Yarmaloon. Other than these letters, all other 15 letters can perform this rule, which is known as Ikhfaa. Understand? I repeat, other than letters Yarmaloon and throat letters, all other 15 letters will perform the third rule, which is known as Ikhfaa. Now move to the fourth rule of Noon Saakin and Tanween, which is Iqlaab. Iqlaab means to change. When Noon Saakin or Tanween comes before the letter Ba. I repeat, when Noon Saakin or Tanween comes before the letter Ba, this rule, which is known as Iqlaab, will implement on that word. Here, with the first example, Meem Ba'di, here you can see that Ba is present and we can pronounce this letter like Meem Ba'di, Meem Ba'di. The Noon sound change into the Meem sound, Meem Ba'di. Sometimes on this letter before Ba, here a little Meem is mentioned. Okay, sometimes here a little Meem is mentioned on the top of the word which is coming before the letter Ba. So we have to pronounce this letter like Meem Ba'di. And remember that here in Iqlaab we have to change the Noon sound into Meem sound. With the second example, we can clear it like Sami'um Basir. Here the Tanween, which is double Duma on the Ain, we can change this Noon sound into Meem. How? Sami'um Basir. In some words we can say Sami'un. When we say Sami'un, it will pronounce the Noon sound and the Noon sound will very clear when we say Sami'un. But here, when the Ba is coming after this letter, we can pronounce this word as Sami'um Basir, changing the Noon sound into the Meem sound. So the third example is Ambihum. Here you can see that Ambihum. Here the Meem sound is also pronounced very clearly because of the letter Ba. As we learned that when Noon Saakin or Tanween comes before the letter Ba, we have to change the Noon sound into the Meem sound. Okay? The last example of fourth rule is La yumbazanna. La yumbazanna. Here you can see that here is the Ba and here is the Noon, and we have to pronounce it like La yumbazanna. La yumbazanna. Again the Noon sound changes into the Meem sound. Okay? If you have any query, you can freely ask in the comment section, and inshallah we will clear and we will make another video according to your queries, and inshallah all your queries will be clear. Here is the summary of this lecture, which is about Noon Saakin and Tanween, and we revise our whole lecture with the help of this table. So let's start. Firstly, we learn the first rule of Izhaar, which means clear. And in this rule, Izhaar happens when Noon Saakin or Tanween comes before these letters, which are known as throat letter. So the Noon sound will pronounced clearly. I will give you an example of the word min hawlihim. Here the Meem is followed by noon, and when we make the connection of Meem with noon, we have to pronounce it like min hawlihim. Here the sound of noon is clear because we know that when Noon Saakin or Tanween comes before the throat letters, the noon sound will clearly pronounced. The second rule is about Idghaam, and Idghaam means to merge, and this happens when Noon Saakin or Tanween comes before these given letters which are known as Yarmaloon. And in this rule we learn how to merge one letter into the other letter with very common examples from the Quran. The first example is may yaqulu. Here we merge the noon into the ya. So in the third rule, which is about Ikhfaa, which is also known as gunna, and the remaining 15 letters other than that of throat letters and letters Yarmaloon, all these 15 letters will perform this rule, which is known as Ikhfaa, and it will pronounced and produced a nasal sound when we pronounce any of the letter which is performing this third rule, Ikhfaa. The first example which I mentioned in the lecture is antum. Antum. Here the hamza is making a connection with the noon, and the sound is going into your nose, so we can pronounce it like antum. Okay. The fourth and the last rule of today's lecture is Iqlaab. Iqlaab means to change. To change what? To change the noon sound into Meem sound, and it will happen when Noon Saakin or Tanween comes before the letter Ba. Okay, I repeat that when Noon Saakin or Tanween comes before the letter Ba, we can change the noon sound into Meem sound. Okay, with very easy examples we learned that how to implement the Iqlaab. So the first examples mentioned in this lecture is Mim Ba'di. Mim Ba'di. Here the noon change into Meem. So same like this, Sami'um Basir. Sami'um Basir. Again the Tanween becomes Meem sound. So finally today we learned the four rules of Noon Saakin and Tanween: Izhaar, Idghaam, Ikhfaa and Iqlaab. When we apply these rules correctly, our Quranic recitation becomes more accurate, clear and beautiful. I am sure that today's lecture is very helpful for you, and inshallah with the help of this rule which we learned today about Noon Saakin and Tanween, your recitation become more accurate day by day. And if you have any of the question about this lecture, you can freely ask in the comment section, and if you want to take personal classes, you can contact us on our given information via email or WhatsApp. Inshallah, we will meet in our next lecture, which will be about Meem Saakin. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.